Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. President Trump announced 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico that were set to take effect at midnight last night, making it clear there's no room for additional negotiations, telling the media they're all set. And don't check your 401k statement today. The Dow dropped 650 points late afternoon yesterday upon the announcement of the Canada-Mexico tariffs kicking in. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins laid out the details of her plan to lower the price of eggs and prevent the price of other food items from escalating. And Chairman of the South Carolina GOP, Drew McKissick, joins us for our weekly update on how the first county reorgs went this past weekend and what's coming up next.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
President Trump said yesterday that Canada and Mexico have, quote, no room left for talks to avoid a new 25% tariff, with the duty set to begin at midnight last night, alongside a new 20% tariff on Chinese goods. When asked if there was room for further negotiation, the president said, not going to happen.
On the tariffs, is there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight? And should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take
no room left for Mexico or for Canada? No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
Mr. President, just to follow up on my colleague's question.
And just so you understand, vast amounts of fentanyl have poured into our country from Mexico. And as you know, also from China, where it goes to Mexico and goes to Canada. And China also had an additional 10, so it's 10 plus 10. And it comes in from Canada and it comes in from Mexico. And that's a very important thing to say. Yeah, please, go ahead.
President Trump added that the new tariff on Chinese-made goods would be 20%, which actually, if you remember, is double the amount that he had previously threatened, which White House aides subsequently confirmed that it is, in fact, 20%. China, Mexico, and Canada are America's top three sources of imports and collectively send almost half of all goods that flow into the U.S., meaning there's likely to be a noticeable impact on consumer cost. So just get ready. All three major U.S. stock indexes spiraled downward following the president's announcement yesterday, with the Dow Jones Industrial Averaging diving 650 points, a drop of 1.5%. NASDAQ took off 2.6% of its total, nearly 500 points. Trump last month delayed the implementation of the 25% tariff against the goods from our neighboring countries when Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum rushed to reassure him that they would crack down on illegal immigration and fentanyl smuggling. Although illegal immigration bust along the U.S.-Mexico border hit a 25-year low in February as a result of Trump's policies, he said yesterday that he's still displeased with the progress on stopping fentanyl, which can kill in extremely small doses. China is the primary producer of the fentanyl the drug that we see in our country. It killed over 279,000 Americans in the past 4 years. This, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Fentanyl wiped out nearly 0.1% of America's population over that period by being sprinkled into a wide range of illegal drugs and counterfeit prescriptions, often killing unwitting and disproportionately young users. Although Trump specified fentanyl as a reason for proceeding with the tariffs, he also described the measures as beneficial to American businesses. The president has enacted stiffer new tariffs on steel and aluminum, saying that it was the beginning of making America rich again, while also suggesting that there's more to come on copper, lumber, pharmaceuticals, and computer chips. Trump also wrote on social media that he would be adopting agricultural tariffs on April the 2nd, which a White House official told the New York Post was a reference to his looming initiative to slap reciprocal levies on other countries, including European allies and Japan. The president has dismissed concern about tariffs fueling inflation, pointing to low rates of increase in consumer costs during his first-term trade standoffs, particularly with China. He said, we don't need the products that they have. This on January the 30th of Canadian and Mexican imports, adding a day later, there could be some temporary short-term disruption, and people will understand that. And that's the question today. Will you understand? We're already suffering with high prices on a lot of things. The inflation that we witnessed under the 4 years of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we haven't seen much, if any, relief since Trump has taken office. Some, slightly. And I'm already hearing people. I see posts on social media. Well, why aren't prices coming down? Particularly eggs. Eggs seems to be the focal point, with a lot of restaurants charging an egg surcharge. There's a video that's circulating on social media, you may have seen it, of a woman getting a pedicure in a salon, and when it comes time to pay, she pulls out a carton of eggs and pays for her pedicure with eggs. It's kind of funny, but it's serious. I'm going to share with you in a few minutes, a little later in the show, Secretary Brooke Rollins' plan to get the cost of eggs down, and she rolled that out. We know the details of that now, and hopefully we'll start seeing some relief from that pretty soon. But it's concerning. Makes me a bit nervous when we're talking about tariffs, because typically if a company who is importing those items and they're charged 25% more, typically they're going to pass that on to the consumer. You and I are going to have to pay that 25%. Maybe not. I don't know. Love to get your take on this. You can email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. You can leave me a voice message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to mypillow.com and you place that order. And boy, does Mike Lindell have some great deals for you right now. And any order right now gets free shipping, totally free shipping. For example, the 2025 six-piece towel set is only $29.98 right now when you use promo code Joey. Now, quantities are extremely low, so if you need some towels heading into the spring, now's the time to do it. And they're selling the standard MyPillows for just $14.98 when you use promo code Joey. So go to mypillow.com or call 800-893-4059. And again, every order ships absolutely free. So when you use the MyPillow message line, always remember to use promo code Joey when you go to mypillow.com. Back to the fentanyl, though. Fentanyl is smuggled into the U.S. primarily from our southern border, but from the northern border as well. Often it's intercepted, often it's not. It's also shipped through the international mail. It's shipped through other carriers disguised as other items. The monthly number of U.S. deaths has been declining since Chinese President Xi Jinping agreed to do more to restrict exports at a November 2023 summit with then-President Joe Biden. But the compound still killed more than 55,000 Americans in the most recent full year of CDC data. 55,000 Americans that were reported that we know of. That's equivalent to roughly the number of U.S. deaths in the Vietnam War, all because of this drug. The Mexico-Canada tariffs are being levied under the president's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to target drug traffickers bringing fentanyl into the U.S. The powerful synthetic opioid was the leading cause of death for Americans between the ages of 18 and 45, those young people, peaking with an estimated 76,282 deaths in 2023, according to CDC data. This is just unacceptable. And we know where it's coming from, so we got to be able to stop it. The grim milestone of these record numbers coincided that year with the largest ever number of migrant border crossings into the country. So you put the two together, and you have to know that one leads to the other, right? U.S. Customs and Border Protection stats show that we're nearly 250,000 apprehended trying to enter in December. That's when we had a record, and that was 2023. That's when we also had that record number of deaths because of fentanyl. In the fiscal year 2024, border agents seized more than 21,000 pounds of fentanyl coming from Mexico, enough to kill 4.8 billion people, with just 43 pounds were impounded coming from Canada. So Mexico's the problem. We know that. But look, again, there's going to be some pain involved with these tariffs. Don't check your 401k statement. just wait a few days, because you're not going to like the red numbers that you'll see in that statement. But we got to trust that President Trump is doing the right thing. There's a lot of talk about making America great again, and it begins with making America healthy again. Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team at PhD Weight Loss are at the forefront to educate and guide you to be your best self. The millions being spent in propping up Big Pharma are astounding, only to create long-term dependency and harmful side effects. Let's take a natural approach that isn't connected to a pharmaceutical company's bottom line. The coaches at PhD Weight Loss will show you how. The entire program is centered around science and nutrition, a proven roadmap that has helped over 8,000 clients lose over 331,000 pounds. You'll learn what to eat and when, how to quiet cravings, and finally get rid of that belly fat. Plus, you'll never take a medication. How many pounds would you like to lose in 2025? Do it the natural way with PhD Weight Loss, here to lead the charge to make America healthy again. Call PhD Weight Loss and schedule your consultation. 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. One more thing on just the devastating effect of having fentanyl flood into our country. It's deadly. We know that. It kills a lot of innocent people. We know that. Here's a heartbreaking example. In September of 2023, a tragic incident unfolded at the Divino Nino Daycare Center in the Bronx in New York, where 1-year-old Nicholas Felice Dominici died from fentanyl exposure. Now you think, well, how did a 1-year-old be exposed to fentanyl? There were also 3 other children, all under the age of 3, who were hospitalized due to this. So here's the story. Investigations revealed that the daycare operated as a front for a drug mill. Large quantities of fentanyl were stored beneath the floor tiles where these children played and rested every day. Gray Menendez, the daycare's owner, was found guilty of conspiracy to distribute narcotics, resulting in death. Despite having a Narcan kit on site, she failed to administer it or inform the first responders about the potential opioid exposure, actions that could have saved Nicholas's life. But, of course, she didn't want to tell them because she knew she was going to go to jail for drug trafficking. During her sentencing, Nicholas's mother, Zoila Dominici, confronted Mendez, expressing her profound grief and stating, "I do not forgive you." Menendez was sentenced to 45 years in prison, matching the sentence previously given to her husband, Felix Garcia, who was also implicated in the drug operation. Again, this incident underscores the devastating impact of the fentanyl crisis, highlighting the need for accountability and for us to protect innocent lives, to keep those drugs from pouring into our country. Moving on, it looks like we may have some relief coming in the egg crisis. It's been crushing American families. This thanks to Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins. Now, we talked briefly about this before. I had Secretary Rollins on the show a couple weeks ago. If you missed that, just go back and search the archives of my podcast, Just the Truth. Just search for Joey Hudson, Just the Truth, wherever you listen to podcasts, or on the Odyssey app, and search for Brooke Rollins, and you'll find it. I was very impressed with her enthusiasm and her background. So here's what you need to know. We all know how the prices of eggs have been the discussion at the dinner table and dinner parties for more than a year now. Egg prices have just skyrocketed, up 53% in just the last year alone. Grocery stores, in some cases, in some areas, are limiting purchases. Restaurants are adding surcharges. Families across the country are being forced to make impossible choices over something as basic as breakfast. And not to mention going to a restaurant. It's just crazy what you have to pay for breakfast now. Why? Well, there's a number of reasons. Primarily, though, right now what we're suffering from is because of bird flu outbreaks. That's been decimating the egg supply and our chicken supply. In just the first 2 months of 2025, we've lost nearly 27 million chickens, making this one of the worst crises in modern agriculture. Well, the Biden administration ignored the disaster. President Trump and his team are actually working to do something about it. So let's talk about Ms. Rollins' 5-pronged plan, because this is a masterclass in how government should be working to address problems. Instead of wasting money on climate change initiatives or pushing for more regulations, this plan actually helps the American people. So let's break it down for you. $500 million, $500 million invested in biosecurity measures. That means beefing up protections for farms so we don't keep losing the flocks. This is a big move. Now, if you're not familiar with farming, it may not mean much to you, but the farmers love it. Bird flu is spreading because wild birds are contaminating farms. 83% of infections are caused by wild birds alone. This administration is putting real muscle but behind getting rid of this problem, stopping it. $400 million in direct relief to farmers. And this is where Trump's America First policy really shines. Farmers who've had to kill their flocks to prevent the spread of the virus will be compensated, not left to fend for themselves like Joe Biden's bureaucrats did. This means we're going to see faster recovery, more farms back in business, and more eggs on the shelves. The old supply and demand. We get the supply up there, the price will come back down. $100 million for vaccine research. This isn't some big pharma cash grab. This is real targeted investment into the solutions that end the need for mass bird culling. This means preventing outbreaks before they happen and keeping our egg supply stable for years to come. And, of course, removing regulatory burdens. And when I spoke with Secretary Rollins a couple of weeks ago, this was one of the biggies that she really focused on, is making it easier for farmers to do what they love to do, and that's farm. Rollins and her team are cutting red tape to make sure farmers can recover quickly, eggs can reach the market faster, and American families aren't stuck paying ridiculous prices because of government interference. And this is what Donald Trump did so brilliantly in his first term. And this isn't just with the Department of Agriculture. We've seen this happen in a lot of other areas too. Cut through the red tape. Eliminate the red tape. Make it easy to do business. Government doesn't have to be involved in everything. Government doesn't need to be looking over your shoulder. Anytime you let a business do what they do best, we're going to have a better product. It's going to be an inexpensive product. Businesses are going to sell it for what they can make a profit on, but also give us a fair price. Imagine a government that actually works for the people. That's sort of a different concept from what we've been accustomed to these past 4 years, right? Also, Secretary Rollins says that there's going to be some temporary import options. We kind of mentioned this one time before because they had hinted that this might be a part of the plan. Now, I know some of you are thinking, why do we need to import eggs? And isn't that a bad thing to bring eggs in from other countries? Well, let me tell you, President Trump and Secretary of Agriculture Rollins knows exactly what they're doing on this one. This is a short-term fix that will stabilize prices while we rebuild domestic supplies. Just that simple. The goal is not to rely on foreign producers forever. It's to get prices down now. It's to get some relief immediately, because some of these other items, it's going to take a little while to get our birds back up to the number that they need to be. And America's egg industry is just suffering. So let's get some relief for the consumers, and then we while we're tackling a long-term solution. Now, here's the other thing you need to know. This plan isn't about a Band-Aid. Again, it's a roadmap to rebuilding food security in America. This is a long-term solution to a problem that is devastating to our country. This crisis, of course, was made worse by the Biden administration's war on farmers, the regulations, the overreach, the restrictions. That's why we're seeing skyrocketing food pricing across the border right now. So what's the big picture here? Well, eggs aren't the only thing going up in price. You probably noticed that too. Beef is getting more expensive. Dairy prices are rising. Grocery bills are climbing. And we want relief as quickly as possible, of course. And Donald Trump does as well. But again, we got to be a little patient here. It's not going to happen overnight, because for 4 years, the left waged an all-out assault on American agriculture, on American farmers. They pushed green policies that strangled farmers. They cut energy production. They let supply chains collapse. Now we're all paying the price. And again, it's going to take a little time for this to be straightened out. But I'm confident that it will. Trump's going to turn it around. Secretary Rollins, who has extensive knowledge in the agricultural business, is going to help turn this around. She's out there traveling. She hit the second day from when she was sworn in. The very next day, she hit the road, traveling, talking to farmers, listening to what they had to say, listening to what they think the solutions were. While the left is out screaming about all these other nonsensical things, the climate change. I mean, give me a break. This administration is making sure that you can afford eggs again. Imagine that. An administration that actually cares about the people who built the country, about the people that they are serving. Now, again, will this fix everything overnight? Nope. Farmers are warning that we still have some rough months ahead. But unlike the Biden-era excuses of waiting it out, this administration is actually taking action. They're being proactive, and this is a step in the right direction. It puts America back in control of our own food supply, and that's what leadership's all about. So let's be clear. This is why Trump won. This is why the America First movement is unstoppable. This is why the establishment hates what's happening right now. Because every time the deep state, the bureaucrats, and the globalists try to break this country down, Trump and his team, they prove them wrong. Egg prices are coming down. Food supply is going to get fixed. Prices overall are going to come down. We just have to give it a little time. America is winning, and that, my friends, is the way it should be. Again, it's not going to happen overnight. So we just need to be patient and let Trump and let the process take its course. But it's going to happen because they're doing the right things. They're getting the farmers involved. And who better to help us solve the problem than the people who are involved in it every day anyway, the farmers. So get ready for a more affordable breakfast.
Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com.
President Trump posted on Truth Social yesterday, teasing his address, which will take place tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, saying, "Tomorrow night will be big. I will tell it like it is." The renewal of the American dream is the theme of President Trump's speech tonight. This will be the first address of his second term to a joint session of Congress. White House officials exclusively told media yesterday that the speech themed the renewal of the American dream will feature 4 main sections. Accomplishments from Trump's second term thus far at home and abroad, what the Trump administration has done for the economy, the president's renewal or renewed push for Congress to pass additional funding for border security, and the president's plan for peace around the globe. Now, Trump's joint address will be must-see TV tonight. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told Fox News Digital everyone is going to want to be watching this. She said President Trump has accomplished more in 1 month than any president in 4 years, and the renewal of the American dream is well underway. She went on to say in his joint address to Congress, President Trump will celebrate his extraordinarily successful first month in office while outlining his bold, ambitious, and common-sense vision for the future. We're told that the president will review his administration's accomplishments from, it's been a whirlwind of a month, hasn't it? Officials said the president will also discuss what his administration has done and continues to do to fix the economic mess created by the Biden administration and to end inflation for all Americans. The president is expected to highlight the more than $1.7 trillion in investments made since he took the oath of office to bring manufacturing back to the United States, including increases in energy production, investments in the private sector on AI, and so many other things. Also in the address, the president has said that he'll be pushing Congress to pass more border security funding, to fund deportations, and the continued construction of the border wall along the U.S. southern border. On foreign policy, the president is expected to outline his plans to restore peace around the world. A White House official told Fox that Trump will lay out his plans to end the war in Ukraine. He will also focus on the work of his administration to ensure the release of all hostages from Gaza amid the Israeli-Hamas conflict. Again, the speech is at 9 p.m. tonight, and I'll have all the highlights and details for you tomorrow. Now, let me encourage you. I always say I'll watch it so you don't have to, and I will. I'll have the highlights for you on tomorrow's show, but let me encourage you to watch this one so we can kind of share it together tomorrow. How's that? Because it's going to be a historic speech, I believe. On the text line, Katrina says, hey, Joey, love the podcast, but the more I hear, the angrier I get. Well, I don't mean to get you upset there, Katrina, but I understand what you're saying. She says, like the organ denial of a child due to any reason, let alone absence of a COVID shot, children were not high risk, is inexcusable. I pray that there are enough elected officials to right this wrong. Food stamps for illegals, fake federal employees gaining paychecks. This all makes me so upset. I pray every day that the good guys and the good gals live long enough to reclaim control of our government. We are essentially at war. It will be ugly and painful for many Americans, but freedom isn't easy. We owe it to our ancestors to be all in. You're right, Katrina, and I think you're right. It's going to be tough. There's going to be some pain involved, just as I was talking earlier about the tariffs. There's going to be some pain with that, I'm afraid, short term, but long term, we're all going to be much better off. Pat writes, hey, Joey, just wondering where the Dems got the money to protest now that the U.S. aid money's not there to support them. Look, George Soros and some of his cronies will make sure they have money for protesting anytime. Jerry writes, can those who have been infringing on the rights of others by requiring vaccinations end up in jail? Probably not, Jerry. I hate to disappoint you. That's probably not going to happen. Some deserve to be there probably, but I don't know that they'll actually be punished. This is in response, a couple of these texts are in response to the story I've shared with you on Friday, I guess it was, about Vice President J.D. Vance's, one of his relatives, being denied I think it was a heart transplant because she had not had the COVID vaccine. And he had to step in, I think. Ray writes, good day, Joey. The mainstream media is melting down over the government employees out of work because of Doge. But I don't remember the tears over the employees of the Keystone Pipeline who lost their jobs the first day of Biden's joke of a presidential term, go MAGA. No, Ray, they've forgotten about all those people who lost their jobs because of the pipeline being shut down, because of Joe Biden's idiotic environmental concerns. Albert says, good morning, Joey. In reference to the Zelensky meeting, I'm 100% in agreement with President Trump and Vice President Vance. I think most people are, although, speaking of that, an Emerson College poll was released yesterday and was somewhat split on who came out the winner between President Trump and President Zelensky. I was actually a little surprised. And, I've been surprised with some of the response that I've seen on social media. People that I think have been supportive of President Trump in the past are being hoodwinked into thinking that that he should have been a little nicer to Zelensky. I don't know why. I mean, again, Zelensky's the one who traveled over here with his hand held out without saying thank you. So, a plurality of voters said that there was no clear winner between Trump and Zelensky in the aftermath of their very contentious Oval Office meeting on Friday. This is according to a new Emerson College poll that was released yesterday afternoon. Overall, 46% said there was no clear winner, while 35% said Trump and the U.S. came away the winner. Another 15% said Zelensky won, according to the survey. I'd love to talk to one of those 15% who thought that there was any way that Zelensky won that. How did Zelensky come out a winner in that at all? This very contentious meeting, not only between the president of the U.S. and Ukraine, but the vice president jumped in. And Zelensky, he wasn't going to back down. You don't you don't go into a meeting with your hand out asking for money and argue with the person you're asking for the money. You just don't do it. Republicans, according to Emerson, Republicans overwhelmingly by 60% said Trump was the winner, while a strong majority of Democrats, of course, 57%, said neither leader won. Among independents, 51% neither, while 28% said Trump was the winner, according to the poll, with 15% saying Ukraine. Regarding the future of Ukraine, 55% of voters overall said that Ukraine will most likely give up land to Russia but will remain an independent country. Another 29% said Ukraine will be completely independent, while 17% believe that Ukraine will become part of Russia. I don't think Ukraine will become part of Russia because I don't think the Europeans will allow that to happen. I mean, he ran back over to Europe and begged and pleaded with the UK Prime Minister and others, and they're going to step up as they should. They should have stepped up a long time ago. But did you notice, if you read anything about their meetings and the announcement from the UK saying that I think they're going to send like another $3 billion or so. Did you notice, though, that they made it very clear that they're sending this money as a loan, not as a grant, as Zelensky claims our money was, that it was a non-repayable grant. But they made it very clear in their announcement that, yes, the UK is going to step up. We're going to send more money. We're going to help them out. We're going to loan them some money. I don't know. I think that's a pretty risky loan. I don't know. On our guest line, Drew McKissick, chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party. Welcome, and hey, we're starting another week.
And looks like if it's half as busy as last week was, especially in terms of foreign policy, it's going to be incredible.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot to cover today. Of course, Greenville had its reorg, some other counties around the state. We want to talk about that. But first, let's talk about, President Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance called the Ukrainian President Zelensky out for not being appreciative of the billions of dollars we've sent them. And the Trump haters are standing on their heads. Now, help me understand this.
Well, there's no understanding it outside of just understanding that there's a certain crowd out there that no matter what happens, they're going to try to say Donald Trump is at fault. Donald Trump is abusing authority. Donald Trump is not representing America, et cetera, et cetera. What we did see, though, was a president who finally, I think, stood up for American interests, which, go figure, is exactly what he said he was going to do when he was running for re-election. And for Zelensky's part, I'll point out that, look, if you are a head of state and you go visit another head of state of a nation that gave your country over $350 billion to help defend itself, you might be able to just maybe try and fake some sincerity for a few minutes in front of the cameras, but he couldn't even bring himself to do that. Very amateurish in terms of just diplomatic protocol and so forth. People have disagreements all the time. Nations have different disagreements all the time. You take them in private, and then whenever you come to some sort of agreement, you take that out in public. He decided to try to negotiate this in front of TV cameras, and it was a bad mistake.
Yeah, big mistake. I mean, I understand people who don't support the president. I get that. But, I mean, shouldn't we be standing together when it comes to issues like this?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean,
sure. And again, you consider the long-term interests of the country, and you're thinking about Europe, and you're thinking about security over there and what's going to secure things for the long term. And I think, as is usually the case, Trump puts his finger on the thing that's at the middle of it all, and that is, how do you, in terms of guaranteeing something long term, how do you align everybody's interest? And in most cases, it comes down to economics, and which goes right back to the whole bit about rare earth minerals and some sort of a deal there, not just hey, let's pay America back or part of what they invested in, Ukraine's defense. But more to the point, Ukraine is sitting on just a motherlode of minerals that they can't get out of the ground. They do them absolutely no good. What this is essentially a huge economic development deal that's being offered to them, which would create jobs, create a gusher of money for them as well, and puts foreign workers over in Ukraine building that country, which essentially, as some other folks have said, I think would create sort of a tripwire that, Putin wouldn't want to dare cross because it would then directly involve other countries in the dispute.
Yep. With me today, Drew McKissick, chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party. I just, some of the particularly social media comments that I saw from people who I know don't necessarily care for the president, but they also don't like sending money to countries, sending our hard-earned tax dollars, and you have a situation like this to where, the European countries over the weekend, they quickly came around and said, okay, we're gonna help them out, give them some money, but they made it very clear we're going to loan them some money, and Zelensky seemed to be very happy with that, but he wants us to give it to him.
Well, it's I think you can't blame him, I guess, necessarily.
True.
For thinking he can keep getting the same deal he's been getting. But new sheriff in town, different mindset. And if he's going to lead his nation, he has to adopt the realities on the ground and how best to potentially take care of his country and defend it and so forth. He's got to use a little wisdom. And again, going out and having an argument with the leader of the country that has been giving him that money is not the way to go about protecting his interests.
Yep. All right, let's move on. Of course, reorg this month. We had some counties this past weekend had their reorg meetings. We have more coming up in the coming weeks. Talk with us about what we need to know about precinct reorg.
Well, the bottom line, this is how we rebuild our campaign structure, as you well know, for the next election cycle. We just got the last election over with and out of the way in November. We just got Trump inaugurated. So the last thing that people are usually thinking about is getting ready for the next election. That's what the party has to do. This is the process where we rebuild the grassroots organizational structure all the way up. Party leaders, activists, people who are going to do the work to help win the next elections 18 months from now. So if you're interested in being a part of that, you need to go to scgop.com/reorg, REORG, scgop.com/reorg. Sign up there so we can get details about the county that you live in and when and where meetings may be, and let other folks know too. I mean, we all as conservatives stand beside people at work, sit beside people at church who think the way that we do, complain about the things that we complain about. But this is an opportunity to get involved and actually have an impact on those things. And at the end of the day, if you don't win, you can't change policy. You can't govern if you don't win. That means we have to win elections. The party is the campaign mechanism for Republicans, for conservatives here in South Carolina. That's how we win elections. We need people to get involved.
Yep. So, Drew, if someone who has never been to a precinct meeting, talk with us about what to expect.
Sure. So, figure, 45 minutes, give or take. Sometimes it depends on what county you're in and how big the precinct may be. For an initial meeting, you have the people who are from your area. Your precinct is where you go vote and just the geography around that area. Those boundaries are defined in state law. There are about 2,300 of them around the state, give or take. And you elect an officer, a precinct president. You elect a committee person to sit on the county committee, sort of like the board of directors for the county party. And other people come and join. who want to take up different roles there at the precinct level, and they potentially might want to run to be a delegate at the county convention, which will come up in April. But you fill in all those potential volunteer spots. And then you'll have a county convention, as I said, in April, which might last, say, 2 hours.
Yeah.
For most people, that's the most of what you're going to have to do this year. You have other folks who might want to do more. We're not looking for people who are committed to becoming full-time political activists. I mean, it's great if they do, but most people have lives and jobs. What we need is just people who are willing to do a little bit more than what they're doing right now. Find something that you like to do and be a volunteer.
Sure. And this is the time to get involved. Drew McKissick, chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party. Again, that website, scgop.com/reorg, scgop.com/reorg. Drew's always a pleasure. Appreciate your time today. We'll do it again next week.
Yes, sir. You have a good one. Thank you.
That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.